Great. So welcome back. Yes. So let's get back to uh, business. Now, when you pick an instructor controller, I was talking about these dependencies over here. We have to remove them. This is not part of the repository pattern, but I just want to chip it in. So I'll teach you the way of doing this inversion of control, and maybe it will be a topic for another day. But let me just chip in it here, and then let's make this controller look more presentable. So instead of initiating your classes directly here, what we are going to do is we are going to actually use abstraction. In that case, that means we'll need some interfaces. So interfaces define abstraction for whatever implementation you are doing. So these controllers will now be programming against the interfaces, which means the interface now is programming against abstraction instead of programming against concrete objects. So in the repository folder, I'll add a new folder and call this interface. Interface. Good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to define an interface for all these repositories. So I'm going to have new, let me call it an interface. Good. So I'm going to call that one I course repository, add. Good. And I'm going to add another one. Let me call that one I instructor. Correct. Sorry, instructor repository. Good. I'll add another interface again. New item. I'll call this an interface, and I'll call that one I instructor course repository. So now I have three interfaces here. What the interface are supposed to do is to give a definition to our implementation. So this public, this is also supposed to be public, and this is also supposed to be public. Good. So what we are going to do is, instead of this just coming directly here, the interface is supposed to define all this. So let me copy this, go to my course interface. Let me get them out. Yeah, so let me get this out. Good. I'm just trying to define an interface. After all this, you get this codes on GitHub, so no problem. So this on the interface. Let me just take them off to show you how this is supposed to be. Good. 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 Perfect. So this is how our interface is supposed to be. This is our interface. So what happens? The course repository is supposed to implement what? The iCourse repository interface. Perfect. So now that we have an interface that is defining what the course repository should be doing, when we go to our course controller, we can now program against abstraction now by using interfaces instead of using concrete classes here. So instead of doing this, I can now say read only iCourse repository. I'm now using the interface. Is that okay? Call course repository. Is that okay? Good, I'm coming. Should we go to a new course repository? It should be small c. Good. Oh, this should be private. Good. So now we've moved a step up again. So what I'm going to do is let me pause and define the interfaces for the rest of the repositories. All right, all right. So this is the interface for the iCourse repository. This is the interface for iInstructor course repository. And this is the interface for the iInstructor repository. So when you see the course repository, it is implementing iCourse. The instructor course is also implementing its interface. And then the instructor repository is also implementing its interface. So now that we have interfaces defined for these concrete classes, what we are going to do is inside the various controllers that they course, we are going to ask the controller to be expecting an implementation of this interface instead of asking for a concrete. So now that we are asking for an implementation of this interface, we can pass any of the implementations to it this way. But we are still going to go ahead and allow the system to do the injection by itself. But for now, we can say that even if there's no new course repository here, for instance, if I have a new repository defined here, let me give an example. Let me just add a class called, let's call it a test repo. And I said, listen, this test repo is implementing iCourse what? iCourse repository. Good. Implement. Okay, finish. Finish. Now, even though I've not done any implementation here, inside my course controller, I can change this to test repo, and my controller is still not broken. So this is because this controller is no more dependent on any concrete class, but rather it is dependent on what? On an abstraction which is defined by this interface. So I'm saying that, listen, inside this interface, we have all these functions and methods. All you have to do is give me an implementation of that interface, and I'm okay to go. All right. So let me take this one out from here. Let me take this out, and let's change this back to the course repository. Fine. So let's do same for the other ones too. So we come here, instead of the instructor, let's change it to the interface. I'm importing the yes, and we come here to, instead of this, we are using the interface as interface. So all we do is to pass implementation to it. Oh, iInstructor course repository. Good. Now we now have our controllers now programming against abstraction, which are the interfaces. But you see, we still have this new keyword here, this new keyword. So we are going to remove them by using constructor injection. What it means is, instead of doing this, we are going to have this. Let me add a constructor here. Constructor. Good. So instead of having all this, I can take this out from here and take this out from here and take this out from here and say that, okay, anytime, let me use just ReSharper to do it. Let me just use ReSharper to do this, and then we told you don't spend too much time initiate. Good. So all I'm doing is I define a constructor here. And I'm saying that, listen, anytime you're calling this controller, there are some things, you know what a constructor does? A constructor initialize a class when you are calling a class. So anytime you're calling this controller, I need an implementation for what? Instructor course. I need an implementation for what? Course. And I need an implementation for what? Instructor. So whatever implementation you pass to me, I'm going to assign it to these interfaces here. And that is what I'm going to use to do my work. So what it means is I've find a way to eliminate all the new keyword from here. So finally, our controller is very, very, very independent. In a case that we don't have, I don't know, I'm not even programming against any concrete class. Look at this. When you come to this controller, there is no concrete class defined in here. All I'm telling you is before you use this controller, I need implementation for this and this and this. So you provide it for me and I'll use it to do whatever work I'm doing inside this controller. Yes. So from this point, anytime you want to call this controller, you have to pass in this. But you bear with me, most of this controller is going to be called from the UI. So how do we pass this? So we can now fall on a third party, or we can write our own IOC container to be doing this injection. And this kind of injection is what we call a constructor injection. So I'm going to go ahead. I will install a Nugget package that will help me do that injection. When I go to manage Nugget packages, I'm installing this in a UI project. Um, um, I'm going for Ninject. Yes, I know my very good friend Novinio will not agree with me in Ninject, but all right. So let's install version 3.2.0. So look up, I'm going to install this. I'll install this, and then another one for MVC. This. So let me install this. It's installing, accept. Perfect. Good. I'll install the common too. That's 3.2.0. Let me use this version. Very stable version. 3.2.0. Okay. Then after that, I need one for MVC. So this is the main common library that I've installed. So let me get this. This is for MVC. Install the 3.2.0. I'm using the 3.2.0 because it's one of the stable versions they've ever released. It's installing. What's installing? Let me. Good. So all packages installed. Let's come to the reference and check. So I have Ninject here. I have Ninject web.common, and then I have ninject.web.mvc. Good. Now, this after installing this package, this is going to create a class here for you under app start. So inside here, this is where we are going to do our inside the kernel here. So inside here, I'm going to tell Ninject Ninject, which is kernel.bind. Now, anytime someone wants an implementation for iCourse repository, please give that person this concrete class, which is called course repository. You get it? The same, anybody that wants an implementation for iInstructor repository, give that person instructor repository. The third one, anybody that wants an implementation for iInstructor course repository, what you do is give that person instructor course repository. Perfect. So what it means now is This ninjet class is going to call on application start and is going to create all this, initialize all this. So when my controller over here says I need an implementation of any of this, Ninjet is going to automatically provide them with whatever class they have to provide them over here from here. So let me do that for the other controller. So instead of using a new keyword here, we can take this off now and say, listen, provide it whenever you are calling the controller. Good. The same applies to instructors. We take the new keyword off from here and we tell you whenever you need it, whenever you are calling this controller or whatever, provide an implementation for instructor repository. So we've managed to take all the dependencies of this controller. So our controller now is more dependent on interfaces than concrete classes that will give us troubles. So far, so good. Let's run this and see how this works. Good. So we have our application running. Let's still go. We've not created our menus yet, so let's go to let's just go to courses. See if we are going to receive our courses. Bam, our courses is here. Let's go to instructors. Instructors. Boom, our instructors is here. We can click on details and still we receive details for it. We're back to list, create new. Let's create a new instructor. Let's call this Osam and the contact is 00 Osam Gala. So we create this and bam, Osam Gala is here. We can edit, we can delete, we can view details and all that. We can still add new. Let's call this one Novi and call this one is a contact number. Hit create, bam, and we are there. So far so good. We are able to take all the dependencies from our controllers, and our controllers look so clean, better than before. There are no queries inside the controllers and all that. But still, there are some issues with our repository. In the next scene, we will look at that and see how to resolve it. Thank you.